morning, Chad. Ever watched a prank on one of those shows like Impractical Jokers or Punk'd and think to yourself, man, that was so funny, I bet it would serve as a great premise for a dramedy TV show? No?
Just piss your pants already.
Well, Hulu thought it was a good idea because it's how they came up with Chad Powers. The show is based on a prank from a few years ago where ex-NFL quarterback Eli Manning pretended to walk on a Penn State's college program under the pseudonym Chad Powers. It's hard to say who comes up with any prank because there are so many of them out there, but Red Bull specifically had already done NFL quarterback tries to walk on a college program a few years before the Chad Powers one. While Red Bull's original prank got twice as many views as the Chad Powers video, Chad Powers was much more of a defined persona than Jared Goff's character. Eli Manning took it upon himself to talk in the third person,
Chad does it his way.
and have a weird backstory about how his mom was his coach and his teacher,
She wasn't very smart. She's a good coach though.
and he had little phrases he kept repeating like think fast, run fast, whereas Jared Goff's character was just Jared Goff but with a mole. So sure, Chad Powers became a cultural icon, but is his persona really enough to carry a TV show? To try and make it work, Hulu changed the Chad Powers backstory. For starters, the person taking on the mantle of Chad Powers isn't an NFL quarterback. He's a disgraced college quarterback by the name of Russ Holiday. Russ lost his team the national championship by dropping the football right before he crossed the goal line, and if that wasn't bad enough, he punches a parent in the face, causing him to fall over into his son who has cancer. There are players in the NFL right now who have done worse than what Russ Holiday just did. I think his career might have been okay. After the Rose Bowl loss, we get to skip 8 years into the future and see that Russ has really hit rock bottom. He's living in his parents' garage, he's trading NFTs and crypto, and his dad is calling him dumb for tweeting about conspiracy theories.
And the fans didn't make you tweet that crap about Princess Diana. What is
I'm just saying
that?
there's a lot of compelling YouTube videos.
Russ thinks his fortunes are going up when he signs a deal with the XFL, but when the kid from the sidelines succumbs to his cancer, the deal ends up falling through.
You're just not a prepared to suck.
The next day, while driving prosthetics to a movie studio for his dad, Russ sees on Instagram a butt that he can't help but zoom in on, and he hears about a college holding open tryouts for a quarterback spot. And when he looks up from Instagram, he sees a Mrs. Doubtfire poster that inspires him to drive all the way to Georgia to try out to be the quarterback for the South Georgia Catfish. Over the course of the show, we get to see him earn a backup spot on the team, eventually become the starter, and even become a national storyline. Chad Powers is able to get his team ranked top 10 in the college ranking, and ESPN wants to run a feature on him. Along the way, he meets people like Danny, the school mascot. Well, Danny's not the mascot. Danny's the guy in the Catfish is the mascot. Danny's not the mascot for his school. Danny is the only person who knows the truth about Chad Powers, and so he becomes Russ's sidekick and kind of the angel on his shoulder. Russ ends up getting close to another character named Ricky, one of the assistant coaches for the Catfish. Ricky is a nepo baby trying to prove herself since her dad gave her the assistant job and people think that she doesn't deserve it. She actually is really good at her job and she's trying to prove it instead of just doing what she's told because
If we all did what the world tells us we're supposed to do, then I'd be selling feet content on OnlyFans.
she also serves as a potential love interest for Chad Powers, but it's hard to tell because she gives mixed signals. Like in one scene, she'll sniff a bathroom after Chad Powers leaves, but when he runs out of a meeting because he says he has to poo-poo, she says gross. Make up your mind, lady. There's one minor character that I really want to talk about, and that's my boy, Jerry. I absolutely love this guy. Jerry's been a catfish for a really long time, and now he's getting a chance to fight for the starting job. And Jerry is hilariously naive.
Yo, Jared. That's our secret handshake.
That's a symbol.
He's saying I get a ton of action.
I don't know why, but the idea of sprinting away from any conversation is so funny to me, and Jerry does it everywhere. My favorite thing about Jerry, though, is that he's relentlessly Christian in the funniest way possible.
You're a backup QB?
I'm just walking the path God lays before me, brother.
Anytime he's playing in a real football game, he always thinks he's gonna die, and so before going out into the field, he asks the coaches,
Should we pray?
God's not real, son. You get your ass back out there.
and this is how he tries and fails to attempt to rile up his team.
With the power of hard work, friendship, and our Lord, we can accomplish anything! Fish on me!
I love this little goober. If Jerry wasn't enough of an indication, this show is very lighthearted. Most of the drama stems from the fact that Russ is trying to keep it a secret that he's Chad Powers, because people in this universe hate Russ Holiday. There's even a douchebag quarterback costume in a Spirit Halloween that's based on him. The comedy also comes from Russ trying to keep his secret because of the wacky things he does and says to hide his identity. Russ Holiday isn't the smartest of guys. He didn't give any thought to this secret identity thing. He didn't even have a name figure out by the time he signs up for tryouts. He tries to improv everything, and as a result, he says some of the most unhinged things to try to justify his character quirks and secrecy. When he first meets Ricky, he starts talking in this really dumb southern accent.
My name's Chad.
He justifies not having highlight tapes by saying his village was off the grid and he was raised on the oral tradition. So instead of recording highlights, they gathered at the end of the day to talk about them. He tells Coach Hudson he can't shower with the team because his pee hole is far too big. And if water were to get locked in it, he could, quote, fall ill. And one of the recurring jokes that people tend to make are that Danny and Russ are so attached to the hip that they must be having sex. But Chad Powers explains that they're so close because at some point, Danny's family adopted him. And also, the Chad Powers family adopted Danny.
In that way, we sort of are both Michael Orr.
There are a lot of jokes in the show, and while I love all the Chad Powers related stuff, there's quite a few bits that don't hit for me. Russ says a lot of douchey stuff that's just supposed to be extreme and crass and funny because he's not supposed to be saying it. And they make a lot of pop culture references that just fall flat.
The what now?
The Bang Bus. Don't you make it like you don't know about the Bang Bus. Come on.
Like, they even got the Hawktua girl in the show, which caused a big controversy because she stole the role from a different actress. There are also a few minor characters whose lines can be really hit or miss, but there were a few gems in there.
Probably a woman pilot.
I do not have a woman pilot.
And what's wrong with a woman pilot?
And I just think this show is at its funniest when it's leaning into the silliness and the absurdity of its concept.
I just remembered that I'm not supposed to be alone in a room with a woman.
What?
It's contaminate my purity.
The aspect of the show where I had the least amount of expectations, yet it still blew me out of the water, were the storytelling and the drama. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely some flaws. Like, Danny's a really passive character and he mostly just serves as Russ's sidekick, and the drama kind of takes a backseat to the lighthearted nature of the show, but we still get little mentions here and there about things like Coach Hudson's marriage falling apart, Ricky trying to prove herself, and Russ not being able to cope with people hating him but loving Chad Powers. For most of the show, the drama feels really slow and like it might be inconsequential until it all comes to a head in the final 2 episodes. If you haven't watched the show, I think you should go do that before you watch this next part, because there are a few twists that I want to talk about that, while they're not crazy revolutionary by TV standards, they really make the show. The show is really short. It's only like 6 episodes and they're about 40 minutes each. It'll only take you a few hours. In fact, you don't even have to pause the video. I'll just sit here hanging out. And don't worry, I know how to entertain myself. Make it true. Throughout the show, Russ has struggled with the Chad Powers identity. He doesn't know how it's going to resolve itself. Is he going to try to keep going, or is he going to reveal himself at some point? It gets harder and harder for him to keep up the facade, culminating in him hitting a new low when he accidentally says something to Ricky in his normal voice while he's in the Chad Powers makeup. So he runs off to a bar and has sex with a random woman. This experience at the bar is enough to convince him he needs to kill off Russ Holiday and become Chad Powers full time. He lists his Cybertruck for sale, he plans to get facial reconstruction surgery, and he decides the first big step is an ESPN Game Day interview at Coach Hudson's house. When he arrives at the house for the interview, Russ gets to meet Coach Hudson's wife for the first time, and it turns out she's the woman from the bar. You see, throughout the whole show, Coach Hudson talks about his struggling marriage, but we never actually meet Terry until now. And she stops the interview because she's unhappy that football takes away her husband and she never gets to see him. Coach Hudson then details the genuine struggle and the pressure of being a college head coach in a climate where athletes can leave or be poached at any time. Oh, did I say Terry earlier? Her name is Wendy. In her anger, Wendy reveals that last night she hooked up with Russ Holiday in his Cybertruck, and the episode ends with Coach Hudson having a heart attack. The last episode starts with Russ having to reveal his Cybertruck in order to get Coach Hudson to the hospital, and you can see Ricky starting to put 2 and 2 together. She ends up confronting Russ at the next practice by revealing the tattoo that's hidden by his arm sleeve, which I'm surprised hasn't been revealed sooner. I mean, it's football, you're always grabbing each other. This didn't come off at any point. This causes Russ to believe the ride is over, and so he drives to Atlanta where his dad is conveniently doing a movie to give him his makeup back. We then get a real heartfelt scene where Russ's dad talks about how he's proud of Russ for working hard, even though, you know, he stole a roster spot and thousands of dollars and potentially the limelight from another kid who deserves it because Russ already had his chance, but he tried hard. Russ then recognizes and apologizes for all of the bad that came to him because it was his fault. And he mentions how he really enjoyed being somebody that people actually liked. And it was nice being Chad because Chad Powers wasn't sad all the time like Russ is, and it's kind of heartbreaking. Being proud of his son for the first time, Russ's dad tells him maybe you don't have to give it up. If I can forgive you, maybe Ricky can too. So Russ rushes back to the game and he finds Ricky on the team bus. He initially starts talking to her in the Chad Powers voice even though she knows the truth, and I thought to myself, why is he using the voice? And then Ricky said,
Why are you still doing the voice?
so Russ goes back to using his normal voice and he starts apologizing for everything. He apologizes for lying, he apologizes for sleeping with the coach's wife, but then he says it was all real. Saving her dad's job, the team winning, and the most real thing are his feelings for Ricky. Tender music starts playing, she touches his face, and then she slaps him and starts berating him. And they got me. I thought they were gonna reconcile. I thought it was gonna be a happy ending. Instead, she lays into him about how pathetic and how psychotic he is. She yells at him for almost murdering her dad, and then actually murdering her friend Chad Powers. That's so sad. She tells him she wished he would have killed himself 8 years ago when he lost everything. After destroying this poor man's soul, Ricky goes to leave the bus and threatens to expose Russ, but then Russ counters with, if she exposes him, the team and her dad will lose everything. This scene right here is what made me really like this show. I was already having a good time, but this scene completely shifts the dynamic of everything. And while it's the second to last scene of this season, I'm really excited for season 2. Ricky and Russ are now in a reluctant partnership. I don't know if you can still make them love interests after what she said to him. My prediction is if they are still love interests, they're gonna kiss for the first time while he's in the Chad Powers makeup. They even find a way to break Jerry. Jerry believes that he's going to be the starter for this game, and he tells the coaches that this is the best day of his life.
What you doing? Snapping a mental photograph. This is the greatest moment of my life.
So when Chad shows back up to the locker room, Jerry loses his mind. He starts swearing.
Yeah, I say the F word now. Get used to it.
And he tells Chad, you can't just come back here and steal my job again. Ricky then walks in to shut Jerry down, and the last look he gives is pure hatred. I'm pretty sure Jerry's gonna be a major antagonist in season 2, and I'm so excited. I didn't have any expectations for this show. If anything, I thought it didn't have much potential because of the concept, yet it blew me away.
Life is crazy. What are you doing?
It's probably one of the best shows I've watched in a really long time. It's not like incredibly groundbreaking or paving the way for something new, but it's an overall solid show. I highly recommend it, especially if you love silly poo-poo jokes.
How's the pee hole? Deep and wide, like the love of the Lord.
Alright, see ya!